All right, we are honored to be joined by none other than Michael Ien Cohen, director, producer. We're talking about Humanity Stoked. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, included in this roster of great speakers, virtually this year, but it's a great honor. Thank you.
I want to get into the juggernaut of Humanity Stoked because it's so all-encompassing. It's not just about one topic. You really dive into so many. So let's start off by just kind of digging into where the impetus came from, and was it one of the topics, or was it always such a far-reaching kind of grasp that you wanted to go after?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's actually hard to believe. I've spoken about this publicly before because it is such an amazing story, but the film was really the result of an epiphany that I had after emerging from a 2-year-long battle with depression, very debilitating depression. And one of the causes of the depression was coming to terms with the fact that I had been living the whole first half of my life. I was probably in my late 40s, 48, 49 at the time, being aware of my childhood dreams since I was a little kid. And there were basically three. One was to be a filmmaker and to tell these stories that would resonate with people emotionally and inspire them. And it was to be a philanthropist, as weird as that is for a 13-year-old to aspire to do. I had things in my life where I was treated unfairly. I had some challenging times in my youth that I didn't understand, that I struggled to understand. And, it was my desire to make sense of that and to help make the world a fairer or better place for people than it was for me, and to be a vert skater. And these are my three dreams. And although I really lived, my entire life as a skater, I never became a vert skater. I never tried it. There were three things I didn't do. And it was, I didn't try to become a vert skater. I didn't try and become a filmmaker. And I didn't try and become a philanthropist. And, when I think a lot of people can relate to this because there are people that may not be living the life they want to live right now. And there are reasons for that, certain types of fears that are holding them back from growing and moving forward. But, in my 20s, I thought I would go to film school when I was, 30. And then when I was 30, I would do this when I was 40. When I was 40, I would start a foundation when I was 50. And, approaching 50 and falling into a very bad depression, I started coming to terms with the fact that I really hadn't done anything to make any of these dreams come true. I didn't do anything to try and live the life that I saw myself living even as a kid. And I had this epiphany, which was never, if I emerged from this thing, not to let fear guide my hand anymore for the rest of my life, and to move forward in the direction that I saw myself moving. And that's what led to this film. It really was the culmination of my desire to make a difference in the world, the desire to inspire people, the desire to be a filmmaker, and to be able to do something by creating the What Stops You at the Door Foundation and creating Humanity Stoked and start producing it.
And it's a unique perspective because it's through kind of all the eyes and through the lives of some pretty notable skaters, I have to say. Like, the cast is diverse as it gets. You had to be kind of excited to reach out to, which had to be a lot of your kind of heroes as a kid, right?
Yeah. A number of people who are heroes of mine. In particular, Tony Alva, because I was born and bred in Brooklyn. I've lived in New York my whole life, but I moved to Southern California in '77 when I was 10, and I was getting Skateboarder magazine, and I would see, all the photos from Glennie Friedman in there of Tony, and I was just like, wow, this is what I wanted to do. And it's funny, it was I'm not a starstruck person. I don't really see anyone differently than anyone else. However, interestingly, interviewing Tony Alva in a music studio, and we were having this deep conversation, really esoteric conversation. And he looked at me and he said, "You know something, Michael?" And he called my name out, and I just thought, I cannot believe this. And now I'm now 52. I'm sitting in this room with Tony Alva, who I was idolizing at 10, and we're having this deep conversation about making the world a better place. And I just thought, this is just surreal. This is just such an honor to be able to do that.
Well-deserved geek out moment for sure. You talk about the philanthropy and giving back, and a little interesting side note that people should understand is that none of the crew yourself took pay in making this film, right? It's all a straight give back. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. That's actually one of the things that that I've been speaking about, because it's hard for people, especially filmmakers, to believe that a film of this size and this scope, filmed on location in 3 different countries and 15 or 20 different states over a 2.5-year period, that a film of this size and caliber could be made without anyone getting paid, whether you're a director of photography or you're just operating camera 2, or you're setting up, you're gaffing, whatever you're doing. No one got paid. It's really a mission of love. And really, it was a prerequisite that I set when I conceived of the film, that no one would get paid, which served a couple of things, a couple of different purposes. One, it enabled us to make the film because we have no financial backup, which is really important because I didn't want to be beholden to anyone's vision of what this film was about. I wanted it to be true and pure. And it also, it enabled us to make the film. And so, yeah. And lastly, it enabled us to be able to be in a position upon distribution to give the money away to the What Stops You the Door Foundation, to help inspire children and young adults from falling into the trap that I did, living a life where you're letting fear really guide your hand, letting fear limit you from what you're doing. And interestingly, a lot of people think that fear of failure is one of the biggest things that hold us back. And in reality, it's just simply fear of uncertainty, and that's the shame. People don't know how to start moving. They don't know what direction to take. They don't know what step to take. And so they procrastinate and they don't do anything at all. And I did that for the first half of my entire life. And I got to tell you, it's an amazing thing when you see the light and you start moving forward and you realize that you could make these things happen. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful process.
What about the cast? We talked about how diverse it was. Tony Alva aside, or maybe he might be the person that I'm asking about here, but was there a real aha moment, without giving away too much of the film, that you were a little surprised to hear from any one particular person that you interviewed?
Do you know what? It's an interesting question. And I think the important thing to understand is that to be surprised would require that you have set up some expectation in advance of talking with someone. And that's a problem that we're experiencing now in society, where we're creating these expectations and we're projecting them on people. And then we either feel elated or disappointed in who they are. But neither of those two extremes are really appropriate. And so for me, it wasn't about that. It was really to go in with a clean slate, to meet someone and say, look, these are 7 or 8 subjects that we're going to talk about in the film. Which of these subjects do we think you want to talk about most? Which of these subjects do you feel you have personal experiences and perspectives that you really want to dig deep and get into with me? And then we just have a natural, fluid conversation. It makes the job of editing a little bit more challenging to pull that story, because you have 80 plus interviews, each one over an hour long. How do you do this? It's an amazing a task to try and pull off. And but that's when you're going to get these beautiful conversations without expectations. And so it wasn't a matter of me being surprised with someone's answer about this or that. It was just about being inspired. Who said things that will inspire me, or really who will say things that will inspire others? That's the goal. That's the ticket. That's the dream. That's the goal of the film, is to have it inspire people. I don't want to tell people what to think. I'm not Michael Moore. He's an amazing filmmaker and I love his films, but I don't, that's not who I am. It's not what I'm trying to do. I don't want to tell people what to think, because whether it's about racial inequality or rights inequality for the LGBTQ community, or women's empowerment, or what we teach children about fear or addiction and recovery and suicide and depression, and the importance of art or music and education. I don't want to tell people what to think about any of these things, but I do want the film to inspire people to think about them more openly, more honestly, and to try and come to their own conclusions that maybe have people surprise themselves with how they really feel when they dig a little deeper, rather than wait to be surprised by what Tony Hawk says or Chad Muska says or Brian Anderson says. That's really what we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do with the film.
The fact that you have this massive cast, and these are guys that are just all across the board, I feel like the viewer is really going to have a pretty big chance to connect with one of these guys, and then also find that inspiration. I'd be hard pressed to think of anyone that wouldn't find kind of that hope and kind of teach the tolerance. That's the message I got from what I saw already of it. It's pretty, like I said, it's just really far-reaching.
Yeah, it means a lot that you were able to, pick that up. You were able to feel that from just the trailer. It lets us know we're on the right path, because we're a team of filmmakers that are also skaters, and so we're interviewing people that we've known for years, through media, even if we haven't met them personally. And if through the conversations that I'm having on camera with them, that myself and the crew are find themselves being inspired, it's amazing. Just one example: when we interviewed Chad Muska at his house, it was me and Ian Gibson, who's been like my DP for the second half of the film and is also a talented colorist and my editor. And so he and I were interviewing, and then we had a third filmmaker that was another volunteer that we had used for the first time that day. And he was there operating camera too, and it was just Chad and I having this fluid, natural conversation. And after the interview was over, he pulled me aside, the other filmer, and he said to me, I get it now. Like, I read what Humanity Stoked was about. It resonated with me. I said, yeah, I want to volunteer and work on this shoot. But he was just so emotionally moved over the things that Chad and I were discussing and the things that Chad said. And, so I know it's inspiring to people. We're seeing it as we're making the film. And so it's a good feeling to try and contribute to make a difference, and hopefully feel that you're doing that.
I do want to ask, how can everyone get their eyes on it? Can you tell us, how can we get our eyes on it and get involved?
Yeah. It's funny. I'll answer it in reverse. In terms of getting involved, we actually just put up a post. We're looking for some additional volunteers as we wrap up post-production. So if anyone goes to humanitystoked.com/volunteer, you could look at some positions if you want to be a part of the process. It's really a cool thing. And in terms of where people are going to see it, we're trying to wrap up post-production so the film will be ready, hopefully by the end of November, give or take. And we're currently looking at distribution deals right now. We're not ready to announce anything, but if you're interested, please follow us on social media. We're at Humanity Stoked, because as we move forward, we keep dropping little teasers from different segments. We just dropped a teaser on Instagram having to do with a segment with racism, with Ray Barbie, for example. We just dropped one about activism. Tony Alva has his own teaser, which is really compelling. But in any event, yeah, check us out on social media at Humanity Stoked, and follow us there, because as we have announcements to be made, we're going to be making them there. So people will be able to find out where. Ideally, it's going to be on a major platform, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max. Prime, for example, is where you'll be able to see it. And like I said, we'll be announcing that in the very near future.
I want to remind everyone it's called Humanity Stoked. Director, producer, Ien Cohen. Thank you so much. And everyone that's watching, be sure to get involved. Trust me, you will not be let down. Thank you.
Thank you so much.